Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans. From a diehard Houston sports fan, I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. I am a writer, actor, improviser, and most importantly, a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. That's right, folks. My world, during the summers in Houston at least, revolved around Astro World. I've been a comedy writer here in Los Angeles for the last decade or so now, and of course that means that my career is currently at a point where I'm podcasting. Welcome to said podcast. That's what happens to, you in Los Angeles when you live here long enough. You just start pronouncing I-10 as the 10, and they just give you a podcast. Welcome to said podcast. Folks, Space Cadet Sports started as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a diehard long-term fan of the Houston Astros and your other Houston sports teams. Here we aren't doom and gloom casual fans, or worse, the national media haters and avoiders. We love our teams and root them on, but also want to try to discuss them without too much homerism. The key word here, of course, is try. In this episode, folks, we have not talked in about a week. I apologize for that. We'll get to that. We're going to talk about your Houston Astros in this past week. Winning a series against Atlanta. I guess technically losing the series against the Royals first, I believe. And then sweeping the South Oklahoma Rangers and getting ready for the Houston Astros taking on the Seattle Mariners in a big series starting this evening as of the recording of this podcast. We'll also talk about your Houston Texans unfortunately dropping a heartbreaking loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Monday Night Football. We'll get to that, but before we do, of course, I'd like to welcome returning listeners and welcome new listeners to what my brothers call the Paul Brought Podball blog. Hey, brothers. Shout out to my brothers. Shout out to Arrested Development fans out there. If you'd be so kind, go ahead and check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my pronunciation there. If you're listening to this podcast wherever you're listening to it on, thank you so much. You don't have to change that dial. But if you want to check it out sometime, you're more than welcome to check out the blog. Folks, we're recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined as always by my co-host and co-producer, the Roz to my Frasier, Carla, the dog, is here with me. Longtime listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. She's got the hot takes on this podcast. Oh, boy. Folks, on this episode, we'll start off with a brief apology. I haven't been with y'all for about a week. Then we're going to get to some Houston Astros baseball, of course. And then we're going to talk a little bit about your Houston Texans at the very end there. We're going to try to squeeze as much into it as we can in this episode, folks. It has been a while. It's been a while. Before we completely get into it, of course, I want to wish a good day, mates, to all our listeners out there. But let's get to it. I do want to apologize. I have not been able to record a podcast in a little bit. I had to take a break. Unfortunately, I have been under the weather. I'm normally not this congested. I'm normally not this nasally and out of breath on the podcast. I've been dealing with some illness. I've been dealing with some illness in the household, trying to make sure that my fiance is feeling good, trying to make sure I'm feeling good, taking care of the dog. We've had a tough week. We're doing good. We're doing good health-wise, happy to report, but I'm still feeling it. And obviously, when you have like flu brain and when you're sick and you're tired, it's hard to get on mic and speak for 30 minutes straight I don't have the breath support. I don't have I don't have the brain support. Let's be honest. It takes a little bit of effort to do this, and I just was not feeling it. I even tried to get on mic at one point. Very excited about the Houston Astros this past week, but I just did not have it in me, unfortunately. I'm feeling a lot better now. I might not sound it, but I am feeling a lot better. I'm very happy to be back, to be talking about the Houston Astros and be back on the podcast. It has been a week, that is for sure. Also, I had to be careful. We had to be careful nowadays. Free speech is limited. A wealthy, rich white man lost his job this week for spouting his opinions and telling jokes. So that's where we are too, and those jokes were a lot tamer than some of the jokes that I've done on this podcast. This is this is a sports pod. This isn't even my comedy podcast, So we got to be careful nowadays with free speech hanging in the balance. We're gonna have to censor ourselves. Now this podcast is fairly tame. I just bring it up to be like, what is going on? I can't believe it. It has been quite a roller coaster this week, but we'll talk about the sports here on this podcast. We will keep it to that. Not primarily today. You know me. I'm gonna make comments here and there, but we're primarily sticking to sports, folks. Don't worry. We're just recapping our week here at the top, folks. And it has been a lot of up and downs, a roller coaster, if you will. If you've been watching the Astros this season, you've known that this season has been a roller coaster of emotions. The last time we talked, it was tough. The Texas Rangers took a series from the Houston Astros. The Toronto Blue Jays, the Canadian Astros, took a series from your Houston Astros. And we're looking to get right against the lowly Atlanta Braves. Luckily, the Astros were able to take that series. The offense was finally able to break out a little bit with some games where they're scoring runs, actually, against Atlanta. And then they came to a big series at home against the South Oklahoma Rangers. And, I was pretty calm and cautious when I was talking about the Rangers last, saying that, just basically alluding to the boot, the silver boot, might not be the Houston Astros this season. I didn't have the courage, the strength to say it, because I knew that the Astros could potentially sweep the Rangers and get the boot back, but I also knew that was going to be a tall ask, the way that the Rangers have been playing, the way the Astros have been playing. I knew it was going to be a tough series, but your Houston Astros went out there and competed against the Texas Rangers and swept the series 3-0, winning the season series against the Texas Rangers, therefore winning the silver boot. And honestly, just kind of stepping on the necks of the Texas Rangers' playoff hopes and dreams. It's something that we can kind of chuckle about now, but the fear of what would happen to the Astros of not winning that series was palpable. Right now, as of today, before the start of the Houston-Seattle series, the Seattle Mariners and the Houston Astros are tied for first place in the division, both having an 84 and 69 record going into this series. The Texas Rangers are third place. They are 79 and 74, 5 games back of both of those teams for the lead in the AL West. But let's also look at the wild card, and that's something that I haven't had to say all season long. So I do know that this is not the best to be like, oh, we have to look at the wild card, but it is important to look at the wild card because we live in reality. The reality of the situation is, we will have to see if the Houston Astros are fighting, for that AL wild card, or if they're trying to keep the Mariners at bay from the first place division lead after this series. So right now, for the AL wild card, the number one team in the AL wild card is the New York Yankees with an 86 and 67 record right now. With Houston and Seattle, whoever is losing that tiebreaker obviously would be getting the wild card there in that second spot, and Boston with an 83 and 70 record. Getting the third and final wild card spot there. That's kind of the way it matches up right now. It truthfully, both Houston and Seattle are going to have some strong weeks towards the end of this season if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. It's not just this series. This series, of course, is paramount to winning the division. That's for sure. But both teams have playoff aspirations, and neither team wants to be on the outside looking in. So right now, there's a lot of good baseball. There's a lot of competitive baseball for these teams in the next couple of weeks. It's not just this series. So now that we've kind of checked in with the division, let's kind of look at the big story for today. The big story for today is that Issac Paredes is set to be activated off the IL to join the team against Seattle. So this is huge. Issac Paredes was probably the MVP of this team when he was healthy. This team was incredible when it had Issac Paredes in it. We've had a tough go. Since we've last talked, Yordan Alvarez actually is back on the IL as well. In that Rangers series, he slipped on first base and sprained his ankle and is out for the rest of the regular season, and we don't know how long he will be out going forward. And I know some people are upset about this. As always, they're upset about medical diagnosis. They want to know the exact days a player will be back. That's just not how medical treatment works. That's how video games work. That's how fantasy lands work. It's hard to get a diagnosis that's going to be like, this is exactly what the sprain is. This is exactly when he'll be able to be playing professional baseball. So it is frustrating. I do want Yordan back. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying our expectations of medical diagnoses fail us constantly because we have insane expectations of what we want them to tell us. We are very bummed about Yordan. We don't know when he'll be back. I'm hopeful, but also, yikes, if you saw the video of that injury, you know that it was gnarly. You know that it could be some time, especially because Yordan sometimes is slow to recover. So prayers for the big man, but that was tough. Folks, we're actually going to take a quick break. It's about time for a break. I need to drink some water. I need to breathe. I need to remember to breathe here. I'm just out here spitting fire on the microphone. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk about Issac Paredes rejoining the Astros on the other side of this break.
Houston Astros, Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston, born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr. Welcome back to those of you who dropped the needle in the middle of the vinyl and are just picking up the podcast in the middle. We appreciate you being here. We are talking about Issac Paredes rejoining the team, the top story of today. We are very excited right now in Houston, sweeping the Rangers. The friend group chat absolutely exploded for me. We are all excited about the Houston Astros, especially after the Houston Texans lost. We needed something to be excited about, and now today with Issac Paredes being back, we are even more excited. But let's actually talk about it. Let's figure out what this means for the Houston Astros. Now, for me, I'm very excited. I've said in the past I've talked about on the podcast how this, everybody's talked about the Houston Astros offense this season, and how lackluster it has been, and it's kind of tough because in a lot of ways, like the Houston Astros offense is pretty good. Like when it comes to hits, they're above average. When it comes to batting average, they're above average. And even when it comes to something like slugging or OPS plus, the team is kind of middling. It's an average team when it comes to that. So if you kind of have this average looking statistical offense, why is it that it feels so bad? Well, because the team really struggled in situational hitting. They struggled with runners in scoring position. They've struggled with when they really need a hit to win the game, just kind of not getting the result that they wanted. Which really has been like a thing that the Astros have done very well throughout the golden era. It seems like whenever the Astros have their backs against the wall, whenever they need a run, whenever they have 2 outs, is when they tend to do great things. But lately, it's been tough. It's been tough to see this Astros offense generally get hits, generally do well offensively, but just not get the right hit. The pressure has been on this team, and they have not always risen to the pressure. Lately, they have, though. So that is exciting to have that back. They are starting to seem like the Astros that we know and love and have been rooting on throughout the golden era. So the fact that they have that kind of ability back is a huge sign that this team is trending in the right direction. But another one of the things about this lackluster offense that I've been saying this season, that I've said when we got Issac Paredes, something that I was worried about when we lost Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker, something that I was worried about when we lost Yordan Alvarez, is patient hitters, patient at-bats, players that can actually go up there and work a count and see long at-bats. This is something that the Astros have gotten better at in the last couple of weeks. They've taken pitchers deep into counts against the Rangers here. We've seen great deep counts, but having a player like Issac Paredes back that can work a count, that sees like 15 pitches easily, like he'll go up there and just foul off pitches and make these pitch counts hike up. It's good to have a player back like that. Now, I'm hoping he's ready. Obviously, the injury that he had was a hamstring injury. It was a soft muscle injury. It definitely, we were hoping that maybe we can get him back sooner than he came back earlier in the year. With those medical complications with his hamstring. But I really think that now that he's back, I'm hoping that they're not rushing him back. I'm hoping that he's back when he is ready. Because if he's back, we don't want him on the bench. We want him starting. We want him playing. Because if he isn't, then why is he on the roster? So we're hopeful that this means that Issac Paredes is ready to DH. I don't think anybody is delusional and is trying to put Issac Paredes in the field right now. I'm sure he can. I'm sure he is able, but I don't think that's the best way to use Issac Paredes at this moment. So right now, let's kind of think. Let's look at it. Right, we have Issac Paredes is not going to play third base the way he was playing before his injury, because we have Carlos Correa here now. There's no way he's playing shortstop. That's Jeremy Pena's position. Moving on, first base, we have Christian Walker there. Issac Paredes is not gonna play first base. So is Issac Paredes gonna play second base? Is essentially what we're asking. This spring training, Issac Paredes took some reps at second base. It wasn't exactly the best fit. He looked better at third, so they put him at third. I don't think Issac Paredes is going to be a terrible second baseman or be, I don't think this is, there's a lot of people on Reddit, a lot of ex-boys, a lot of the sports radio boomers that'll say, well, he can't play second base. He took reps at second, so they didn't like him there. He obviously can't play second base. I think Tony Perez Chica, I think, he's the Astros fielding coach. I think he could figure out a way to get Issac Paredes to play second base. Between him and Issac Paredes, I saw the way he played third. I think he could figure out second. I don't think that's impossible to say that could happen, be a reality in which Issac Paredes plays second. But with Ramon Urias, with Mauricio Dubon, and with Jose Altuve, all perfectly fine players at second base, I don't think they're going to be in any rush to put Issac Paredes at second. And I don't think they're going to be in any rush to let him try at his hand at left. I think right now, they're not going to be wanting subpar defending out there or to be putting Issac Paredes at risk. So Issac Paredes will be a designated hitter if he is playing for the Houston Astros going forward. That's very clear. That plus the fact that Yordan Alvarez is out of the lineup right now, that makes it a very easy DH decision for Joe Espada. I don't think that's even worth talking about anymore. I'm pretty sure most of us agree on this. But I'm just bringing that up to say that going forward, Issac Paredes is on the contract with the Houston Astros for a couple more seasons. I think we're looking at him getting future reps at second base. But we will just have to see how that turns out. But that is what I'm projecting. That just is what makes the most sense. But that being said, I don't think that's going to happen at all this calendar year. I think he will be a DH if he is healthy, and that's just the end of the story. But I think his bat really brings hopefully more patience to this lineup, and that can be a little bit that can rub off on the other players in the lineup. When you see somebody take that many pitches and have that patience. So I'm praying that Issac Paredes is actually here to make a difference in this game and not just kind of be a decoy. I don't think that the Houston Astros would bring him up. I don't think Dana Brown would bring him up if they weren't going to actually be able to play him, 2 of every 3 games in a series. So I'm hopeful that Issac Paredes is ready, and honestly, folks, we need it. The Houston Astros offense, honestly, it has been firing up lately. I think, as of the last week or so, they maybe have been averaging, I think they said it on Sports City Network, they're averaging slightly over 6 runs a game. So that is exciting. I want to see more of that. They're finding ways to drive in runners. They're finding ways to get enough runs to win these games. And against the Seattle Mariners, they are going to need every one of those 6 runs that they've been scoring lately, because the Seattle Mariners are an offensive team again. This team has been hot. The Seattle Mariners, since they have been cursed by the Etsy Witch, have been on a historic run. That's right. If you have not heard this story, fans of the Seattle Mariners went on Etsy and they hired a witch. They hired a witch to curse them, to put a good curse on them. Look, I'm not into witchery. I don't know, but they did go out there and hilariously did get a curse placed on them. And since then, they've been really good. The Seattle Mariners, we said at the beginning of the season, we've been saying for a while on this podcast, it was going to be a 3-dog race for the AL West. And folks, it has come down to the last weeks of the season, and we are here looking at the Seattle Mariners, looking at their offense, looking at their pretty decent pitching still, and wondering what Seattle Mariners is going to show up to Houston. We have to be prepared for some slugging. We have to be prepared for some home runs. We have to be prepared for these Houston Astros to have to and need to score runs. This team cannot just put up 3 or 4 runs, I think, and win this series. I think this team is going to have to slug. I think this team is going to have to hit some home runs. They're going to have to dial in when they have runners in scoring position and take advantage of every situation they can to get some runs across against these Mariners pitchers. And that's going to take some selective hitting. That's why I'm excited about Issac Paredes. Issac Paredes is Mr. Selective Hitting. He's Mr. Professional Hitter. If he is here, he will help strengthen and bolster this Houston Astros lineup. Him being here, I think, is a huge red flag for Mariners fans right now. I'm excited about this. Something I've been saying all season long, and this is not to take the Mariners lightly. I make my jokes about other teams, that's for sure. I'm not trying to take the Mariners lightly, but the fact of the matter is, I've been saying all season long, the Astros have been here before. They know how to operate when the world is on their back telling them that they're going to fail. They know how to operate when all the pressure is on them. The Mariners have struggled to win games in the past when the pressure is on. We will have to see which team does better under pressure in this specific series. This series could be the division for these teams. It very much will be because it basically counts as 2 games. The last week, who knows? Someone could get hot, someone could get cold. We don't know yet. But this is pretty much the division. And what team is ready, what team is hot, and what team is confident is going to be the team that wins. And the Mariners just have a little shaky confidence sometimes. I'm hoping that the Astros having Issac Paredes there means something good. We're gonna project what this series will look like coming up right after a quick break. We'll be right back.
Houston Astros, Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back, folks. We are here to talk about the preview for the Houston Astros versus the Seattle Mariners that is starting later tonight at Daikin Park. Well, folks, very happy to say that Hunter Brown Diesel is starting this game for the Houston Astros. Look, folks, one reason that I am bullish on the Astros here is that the Astros had yesterday off. And the Astros have a day off after this 3-game series against Seattle. They are padded. They have cushions on either side to make sure that this team can go all out. Everybody's a little more rested. And the day after the series, everybody has a day off. So everybody can push a little bit more in this series for the Houston Astros. I like our pitching matchups. And I love the fact that Issac Paredes is back. So let's look at these pitching matchups. Hunter Brown, Diesel is starting. Hunter is 12-7 on the season with a 2.27 ERA, with 174 and 1/3 innings pitched, with 192 strikeouts and a 1 whip. We're looking for Hunter Brown to get 200 strikeouts on this season. We'll see how he does in this game. I have a feeling that Hunter is going to be on fire. He wants those 200 strikeouts this season. He wants to compete. This guy is a competitor. This guy is nails. He's going to go out there and shove against the Seattle Mariners because he knows what this series means to the Astros. He knows what it means to the season, and I think he knows what it means to him personally. I am not betting against Hunter Brown in this game. It is going to be a dominant outing, I believe. I feel good about that. I just want to feel good about the Astros offense in this game. So let's see who the Astros are going to be facing up against. That's going to be 25-year-old Brian Wu. Brian Wu is 14-7 with a 3.02 ERA, 181 and 2/3 inning pitched with 191 strikeouts and a sub-1 whip at .94 whip on the season. This guy is not a slouch either. This is going to be a pitching matchup, folks. I really feel like this is going to be a nail-biter type game, I really want to see the Astros, do what they've been kind of doing lately and try to get a little bit of offense going early against Brian Wu. They're going to have to try to get a lot of pitches thrown. You see what they did in the Rangers series. A lot of those Rangers starting pitchers really had to throw a lot of pitches to this Astros lineup. The Astros were able to kind of attack early. When the Astros are good, when the Astros are good and aggressive, they're able to attack the pitcher early, but they're also able to work counts. We're going to need them to have that kind of selective way of hitting. A lot has been said about the Houston Astros hitting coaches this season. I think that's because whenever somebody strikes out, people think the coaches went up there and told them to strike out or something. That's not always the case. Hitting philosophies are one thing, but going out there in the batter's box and actually getting the results the coaches are telling you to do is another thing. I think us not getting the results we want, you just have been assuming that the hitting coaches are completely to blame. Now, I think there could be some hitting coaches shakeup, and that could help the team. However, this team has been doing what they've been doing for 9 years now. These hitting coaches know what they're doing, and it's partially behind an aggressive attack. So, but it's not just being aggressive. It's being selectively aggressive, right? That's what we want this team to be doing. We're looking for them to be selectively aggressive. When it's the pitch that they need to do damage with, knock that one down. Go out there, take your shot. But lay off some of those pitches on the edges. Lay off some of those sliders down and away. Don't go for the high cheese. Don't let your eyes get big when the fastball's on the top rail and out of the strike zone. Just let that one go. Don't go for the pitch that's jamming your hands in because you think it might break. It's easier said than done. If I could do any of these things, I would have a career in baseball. Of course. I'm sitting at home on my butt podcasting about it, saying these words. Doing these words is a lot more complicated than just saying them. So we're looking for them to actually have some selective aggression against Bryan Woo in this game. That is going to be the key to success, to go out there and give Hunter Brown some run support and let Hunter Brown get confident and get nasty. If you give him some run support early, Hunter Brown can play with a cushion, and he can go out there and give you 7 innings. Really, that's another key to the success here, is letting Hunter Brown go deep into this game so that we do not have to tax the bullpen too early. Because we don't want to talk about it too much on this podcast, folks, but we have a lack of pitching options when it comes to the back end of the rotation. And we cannot overextend Bryan Abreu in this series. I think Bryan Abreu is the type of pitcher that if we had to send him out there every 9th inning for all 3 of these games, he would do it. I think he's capable of that. But we want to keep him healthy going into the end of the season because we need him. Whew, we need that, man. Going into game 2, it will be Framber Valdez, La Grasa, going up. He is 12-10 on the season with a 3.59 ERA and 180 point and 1/3 inning pitched with 173 strikeouts with a 122 WHIP. Whew, my kind of brain fogginess is back, folks. I do apologize for misreading some of these numbers. But Framber Valdez has had a tough summer and it's turning into a tough fall. Folks, Framber needs to get right in this game. And I think he's capable of it. There's no time better than the present for La Grasa to famously turn on his heels and get momentum going back in the other direction. Framber Valdez is a very streaky pitcher. And I know right now he is not going to be the favorite pitcher of a lot of Astros fans. He has really done a lot of actions to lose some love in Houston. But like I was saying, like I say on this podcast before, like I was saying about Framber previously, is he needs our support. If you're wearing Houston on your chest and you're not breaking laws and not doing anything morally reprehensible, we got to figure out a way to support that guy. He is a guy that needs support. He is a very emotional, passionate man. He needs to feel that support. He even went out and said, he's not feeling the love pretty much like from this organization in coded words. He didn't say that directly, but he's just, like, I have a feeling that he feels a little bit of this anger. So we're hopeful that Framber Valdez can turn it around. There's no better time than right now for him to find another one of his hot streaks and just go off. Because when he's good, he is great. But when he is spiraling, he really can find moments where he just struggles with consistency. We need consistent Framber in this game. We have George Kirby going up for the Seattle Mariners. George Kirby is 9-7 with a 4.46 ERA, 115 innings pitched, and 120 strikeouts with a 123 WHIP. He definitely has had some struggles this season too, but George Kirby is also a really good pitcher. So we will see in that matchup which one of those pitchers is going to be able to find consistency. We need it to be Framber. So we are rooting for Framber. And in that third game, the Houston Astros will have serenity now. The summer of George hopefully continues with Jason Alexander taking the mound for the Houston Astros. Jason Alexander has been a revelation this season. He has easily been the second best pitcher on this team for the last month or so. He is 4-1 on the season with a 4.04 ERA with 71 1/3 innings pitched, 60 strikeouts, and a 1.30 WHIP. George Costanza is the most George Costanza pitcher of all time. None of his numbers are going to shock you. He really doesn't blow you away. He does a good job of pitch sequencing and kind of yanking the string on that changeup. There's really not anything that he does that's so secret. So we've just been watching Jason Alexander, wondering if he's going to be able to sustain this success, and he's been able to sustain it so far. We need him to go out there and get one more for us, at least. I mean, honestly, we need him to be our third guy in the rotation for playoffs. That's for sure. Serenity now, Jason. We are watching your career with great interest, my boy. I think he has what it takes to go through this lineup a couple of times and to compete. But it is definitely going to be, another George Costanza game that we're just hoping that he's able to go out there and continue the success that he's been able to find this season. He's kind of the Yusei Kikuchi of this season, if you will, just another pitcher that for whatever reason has been able to figure it out on the Astros, and we're just hoping that he continues that success this season. He'll be pitching up against Logan Gilbert for the Seattle Mariners. Logan Gilbert has had a tougher season a little bit so far. Honestly, the last 7 games, he has been trending down as he's been going through the season. I guess I'm trying to say as the season has been progressing, it's been trending down a little bit for Logan Gilbert. So we're hoping, that he's just a little tired and weary here. He is 5-6 with a 3.53 ERA, 120 innings pitched, 164 strikeouts, and a 1.05 WHIP. This is going to be, some good pitching in this series. And the Seattle Mariners have been able to find a way to stay hot and keep this offense hot, whether it's the Etsy Witch or whether it's something else. They have found a way. I believe, the Seattle Mariners are something like 9-1 of their last 10. Yeah, they're 9-1 of their last 10 right now. The Astros are on a 3-game winning streak, that's for sure. We're hoping that gives them enough momentum to keep things strong. But the Seattle Mariners are no slouches here. This team will have to go out there and play this game one game at a time. So this first game, the strength of the Astros will have to be behind attacking early, using what they've done historically, relying on great pitching and being aggressive when you need to be aggressive with a big pitch here. I feel good about the Astros in this series. I do. It's tough. It's tough for sure to know that the Seattle Mariners need this, but the Astros also need this. I feel like I'm betting on the Astros, who have been there before, to just solidify their offense and figure it out in this series to remain consistent. I feel like this might be tough to sweep for sure. I don't think this is, going to be the same result as the Texas Rangers series, but I think that this is going to be a 2-1 series win, and I think it starts today with the win. If today has to be a win for the Houston Astros. Today has to be a game where Hunter Brown goes deep in the game, and today has to be a game where this offensive lineup finds some firepower and just is able to keep the confidence going. I feel pretty good about that. Well, folks, I was not able to completely get to the Houston Texans. I wanted to be able to talk about them a little bit more, but we are running low on time here. So let's just briefly talk about them for a couple of minutes, and I'll find a way. Maybe I'll write an article. Maybe I'll just do another podcast tomorrow about the Houston Texans. But it was a tough one, folks. It was it was a real tough one. Monday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think, it won't even let me look at the depth chart. It won't even let me look at the score. It won't even. I'm struggling here, folks. I'm the wheels are coming off. That's for sure. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I'm having to go into multiple apps now. I don't understand. Yeah, it's 19-20. I know the score. Okay. I'm not able to get the statistics up, so we're just going to have to talk about this game in detail at another time. 19-20, losing on the final, potentially winning the game in the fourth quarter in the final couple of drives, and then losing the game on the final drive was just tough. I think this offense definitely is struggling on the Houston Texans. Another team where the defense is pretty solid, but the offense is struggling. We will have to see what these Houston Texans are going to do against the Jaguars in this upcoming game. It will be telling. Are they going to be able to be kings of AFC South, or is this going to be a struggle season? We will have to see, folks. You'll have to let me know what you think. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me. We are a small podcast, and we only go as far as our listenership takes us. We are supported by listeners like you. So please share with the Houston fan or Australian in your life, and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen. Go ahead and check out the Substack, spacecadetsports.substack.com. Subscribe to support. Let me know what you think. Some of the premium membership. Let me know what you think. Some of the premium perks should be of a membership on the Substack, folks. Please subscribe to that premium. I need medicine, obviously. My brain is melting right now. If you subscribe to the Substack premium, I can get medicine to heal my broken brain. If you don't want to subscribe to the Substack, just so you know, you get most of the content for free on the Substack. You don't have to be a premium subscriber to get podcasts and stuff like that. Obviously, you're listening to this now. But if you don't want to subscribe to that, you can buy merch. I have aircraft carrier hats, Don't Sleep on Houston hats. I have Carla the Dog hats and H-Town Blue. Go check that out at paulsalazarjr.net. You can reach out on social media at Space Cadet Sports, at spacecadetsportspod.bsky.social. Let me know your takes. Let me know if you think the Houston Texans are going to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars upcoming here. You could even leave me a voicemail, speakpipe.com/spacecadetsports, if you want to let me know your take. You want to get on the show. You think you disagree with me and you want to let me know? Go ahead and leave me a voicemail. It should be fine. I definitely am open to engaging with y'all about the Houston sports teams that we all love so dearly, as long as you come respectful, as long as you come, with a little bit of love in your heart. We don't want just the haters showing up. If you're gonna be trolling, it's probably not gonna make the show. But let me know what you think here, folks. And if you've gotten this far, and you've given me a 5-star review, you've subscribed to the premium, you've bought all the hats, and you're like, I love this Paul guy, well, you can find me making weird jokes, memes, art, podcasts, and so much more online at Paul Salazar JR. Once again, you can find the merch at paulsalazarjr.net, because I'm nothing but net, where you can find my other Substack and all the other nonsense I do if you're nasty. Thanks for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Please pray for me because I'm still getting over this illness. But keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos Houston.